technology.
Hey everyone, I swear to God, everyone like fucks with me when I get ready to start these things, so I'm always laughing at the beginning of them. So joining me today, in an impromptu text message that I sent literally like 2 hours ago, is Kevin Doherty from Hastlefree Barbell Club. This is episode 46 of the Tough Lift podcast, and today we're going to be talking about keeping it simple. All right, I wanted to have Kevin on because I've known Kevin for a number of years now, and one of the things that's always been really cool about him is once I learned after asking how he runs such a successful and ran such a successful high school program out there, he basically gave me what could have just been like the basic training of barbell training. And every athlete he's had out there goes through essentially the same regimented structure. And Hassle Free is a club that is known across the country, if not world, as producing some really high level athletes in not only weightlifting, but other sports as well. And it's with and it all starts from a very simple carbon copy plan where athletes begin their journey. And then we've had other conversations, Kevin, about like, for example, one thing I always like to stun my coaches with, or even when I do USAWs, is that you don't teach like the split jerk right off the mat. You sometimes don't even teach it at all. You just stick with the power jerk. Again, an easier movement, not as complex, and you still get the job done and have really high level lifters. So, Kevin, if you could do a quick intro,
Yeah.
kind of like where you got started, and then we're going to chat about some topics, guys, on how we think probably coaches nowadays, not as the oldest guy on the podcast. Sorry, Kevin, but the two experienced coaches that see a lot of coaches nowadays trying to make things too goddamn complicated. And Kevin, you can curse on here, so feel free.
Yeah. Over coaching. No, hey, so thanks for having me. Super simple. About 25 years ago, I went to a strength and conditioning clinic after having graduated from college and helping my brother's football team. My brother was a junior at the time. And I was like, hey, man, you guys aren't doing anything right in the weight room. And let me just go to this football clinic. And I randomly ran into a room with Tony Chiarelli, big time, like track and field, high school football coach. You know, his wife was a junior national coach for weightlifting for a long time, talking about using the Olympic lifts to help sports performance. But kind of what stuck with me was like this video of this kid running this defender over, and then another clip of them learning how to lift PVC pipes in the parking lot. And I was 22, I think. Never done like progressions or anything, but I think that's kind of like where fast forward 25 years, to now. And then I've had the luck of Jim Schmitz coached me, Dave Spitz was one of my colleagues, and all these really good coaches, Zygmunt at the training center. Because the kids were so good, I've had the exposure of all these other coaches and influences. But fast forward to 25 years, it's like, yo, this is the way we're going to do it. This is why it works. And this is how 10,000 kids have learned how to lift.
It's a lot.
10,000.
It's a lot of kids.
And
Yeah.
if you include me and my brother and all our, I'm not at the high school anymore, but all the, we've had 150 people come in for a workout at our club this year. So
Yep.
out of those 150, 75 to 100 are new, and they do the same thing. And it's about keeping the progression simple. And what I do with that is I'll take it to my level ones and be like, listen, here's the cheat code. Because most of our kids can already squat because they're 7, 8, 9.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't need to do all these other things to mitigate the inability to squat and put the bar overhead. And every single time I do one, the number one comment is like, I didn't realize it was that simple.
That's, yeah.
And then you constantly have examples of that in your gym, my gym, going back and like fixing something simple,
Yep.
And then before I let you ask questions, my best example from this week, Alyssa Hines, 14 years old, super talented, 5'8", 75 kilos, 8th grader, gonna snatch 100 one day, was missing 60 and 55. And I literally was like, let me film these. And I was like, Alyssa, I think I figured it out. Your hips are leading the way. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, don't just think, lead with my chest.
Mm.
Your chest starts the snatch, knowing full well that the hips are going to come at the same time. bam, 60, 63, 65, 67, done. PR, move on. Best snatch she's ever done in her life.
Excellent.
Just taking a half step back and like not like throwing a bunch of crazy stuff in her head, like lead with the chest.
Yeah.
Anybody can understand that. So,
Yep.
very blessed to have kind of like the challenge for me now is how do we continue to revisit that simplicity?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's to carry on with that, it's one of those things where like I love using the examples of when we coach kids, you get to use these nice simple cues like gorilla chest, right? Every kid in the world knows gorilla chest means puff their chest up and get their back flat. And then you say that to an adult, they get it, but you sound like a moron. So they expect as like a paying customer, or if they're like going through CSCS, or they're doing their USAW1, or they're trying to be like a junior coach, they're like, all right, we're gonna retract our scapula and get our vertebrae
Scapular
stacked.
retractors will be activated.
It's always this overcomplicated jargon, and and this is one of the things I always impress upon my coaches or whoever I'm coaching to be coaches is your coaching. And I'll give full credit to one of my first coaches, Dave Finley, when I got out of the Army and I was coaching civilians. He was helping me transition like coaching Army people to coaching civilians. And he's like, you're coaching lawyers, you're coaching soccer coaches, you're coaching cooks, you're coaching servers. Like, they don't give a fuck what their rhomboids are doing or even where their rhomboid is. They just want to lift the goddamn weight. And that stuck with me, and it's always stuck with me because I was coming from a world where like you had to know your job and then you had to know the man above you's job. So I expected them to know what the rhomboid was in case they needed to lead PT, and that like it always stacked. So it always stuck with me to make an impression upon athletes of like keep it simple, stupid. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you, is because I do feel like you guys have done a great job of that out there. And I always like bring up the topic, and we were debating about it again. Would you rather have a smart athlete or a strong athlete as a coach? And you can kind of think on that as I finish the sentence. But I think sometimes having a smart athlete is great because they can kind of problem solve on their own. But the downside of that is they're going to overcomplicate things. Versus having a strong athlete whose job is just to basically do the movement, listen to you, and follow your guidance, sometimes it's just the better route.
Yeah, and I think that gets into like the minutia of, are we overcoaching? So in my last level 1, great group, we talked about letting people make mistakes. Let them execute what you show them at least one set before you step in and start fixing everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because 90% of the time, they're going to figure it out. You explain to them, you show it to them, you let them go. So the 7-year-old doing military press, I'm not going to stop him or her when the bar's out in front. I'm just going to show them again to finish the bar behind the ears. And eventually they do it. Their feet are usually always correct. They usually can squat, right? So how that applies to the general population, it's like, you have, like all our adults that come in, if they don't have a specific program, they're following the program on the board.
Mm-hmm.
There's a hierarchy. There's the intro program. There's the, learning to compete program. And then there's the program that I write for our competitors. A lot of the competitors have different people program for them. I don't care, but let's just make sure it's not too complicated.
Yeah.
I ran into this last week. There's a boy that somebody's been working with him, and the coach is doing a great job. She's doing a great job, but he's a sophomore in high school. He just needs to be a bro for a week. So I said, hey, I have some suggestions, and I kind of took over the max out week, right? And it wasn't like, oh, I did all this great job coaching. We tried to push for a PR in the back squat on Monday with some power snatch, power clean. On Tuesday, we did push press, and we did, I think we did snatch no feet, clean no feet. And then we did the hang on Wednesday. Hang clean, hang snatch, front squat. And then we did some light block work on Friday. And guess what? He had PRs and all those things. And guess what? On Saturday, he had PR snatch, PR clean jerk.
Yeah.
Because it was simple. He knew that Monday was powers, Tuesday was no feet, Wednesday was hang, and then Friday was easy blocks. And to the coach's credit, she had done all this work to get him ready, but the max out week was looking way too complicated.
Yeah.
And it's just like at a certain point, you got to put your foot on the gas and get the kilos you can get.
Mm-hmm.
And then come back, and like this week it's back down to like 85%, and he's doing strength work and more reps, but it's simple. It's like I realized with this kid, he needs 3 exercises and maybe an accessory.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have my template, but I'm telling him which 3 to pick from the template.
Yeah. And I think that's a valid part of, again, the conversation we're having is athletes and coaches. One of the things that I've discussed lately is like almost challenging my coaches, like, okay, what was their last cycle? Were they successful in it? Did it go well? Here's a crazy idea. Just do it again.
Do it again, yeah.
And like that's one of those things where it's like, but I have to rewrite the whole like fucking book again. And it's like, no, you actually don't.
Yeah.
If
I'll,
it's
I'll,
successful, let's just do the thing again. And I think people, and I like as a business owner, obviously, like you worry at times about like, well, you want people to keep an interest because it's a numbers game at a certain point. But also, like at a certain point, they came to you because they're expecting you to do a job, which is to get them stronger. If they have an issue with the way you're doing the job, but they're still getting the results, that's a them issue. That's not a you issue. You're doing the right thing. Weightlifting, nobody's ever said weightlifting is the most fucking exciting thing in the world.
yeah, so I started doing something in 2014. I was in Kazakhstan for the World Championships.
Tried eating
And
horse.
no, I was on a plane ride. And it was like November, and I started just to map out, and I have no physiology, nothing background. My only background is coaching, and people relations, right? And Jenny Arthur went 2 for 6, and I wasn't coaching her at that point yet
Mm-hmm.
officially. I was coaching her all in national meets, and she was doing great. And then I can't coach her at the World Championships, and she goes 2 for 6 because she's in the wrong weight class. So that got fixed the year after. But I think a lot of that was because D'Angelo didn't do so well. They put him in the wrong weight class. I'm like, listen, they put 2 of my kids in the wrong weight class, and they went like 3 for 6 and 2 for 6. I'm going to map out a year plan,
This
even
is
though
how it
I'm
used to
not
be,
program.
everyone. All you youngins, this is how it used to be. You didn't get to just travel with your athletes all the time.
Yeah. So, and from that year plan, I broke it down into 13-week cycles with different points of emphasis with each cycle.
You
But,
rebel. How dare
but
you not
also,
12 weeks.
every 4 weeks, there was a different emphasis. And that's kind of stuck. So, where we're at right now, like, let's just flash forward to today, 11 years later. We're in a strength cycle with some combos, right? Pull plus, because we're
Mm-hmm.
5 weeks from nationals.
Yep.
The minute May 18 hits, that means we're 3 weeks out, 3.5 weeks out, because some of the kids, actually a month out, because some of the kids live that next Saturday. Like they live Saturday the 19th, I think, in June. It is comp. That means Monday, or it's either Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Probably going to be Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, snatch and clean and jerk, right? Because the first day of nationals is Saturday.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not going to just be snatch and clean and jerk. I'm sure there'll be some position review like snatch above the knee, power snatch plus snatch. You can't max out, but there will be some component of both lifts in both days. And then on the other days, we'll work on the other stuff. We'll squat, we'll do some overhead. Maybe there we do some position work, but it's very simple. And what I've been able to do is I have a Google sheet, super fancy, not all our workouts for the last 10 years are on that Google sheet.
Yeah.
So
I
what
just
I'll
have
do,
this shit-eating grin on my face because it's literally verbatim the same phase that my athletes are in right now. Like if I could grab 3 of them right now, they'd be like, "Oh my god, he's trying to kill us with combos and complexes and shit."
and heavy squats
Yeah, exactly. They're all hitting like 90%. I'm challenging with like
and overhead work because
Yep.
we are horrible overhead,
Yep.
right?
Snatch
Behind the neck
balances.
push press.
Overhead. Yeah.
Oh!
Oh yeah, they exactly. You just basically described our program, and this is we
But
can end it here. It's all satisfied. I'm done.
so I mean, like I'm a big math guy. We've had, maybe I've had of me like 7,000 lifters.
Hmm.
And out of those 7,000 lifters, we had 7 people go to the Senior World Championships and 3 people go to the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
And one of them was for another sport, but that's even a better example. Like
Yeah.
she back squatted 180 kilos as a senior in high school. Like, why do you think she threw the discus so far? Right?
Yep.
She power cleaned 110, whatever. They're great athletes. We're the ones messing it up. Everybody has one thing to work on. We look at my there's 3 elite kids. There's Jade, who's a junior elite. There's a youth elite girl, Gianna. There's like 2 of them, Gianna and Alyssa. And then there's a couple senior lifters that are almost there. There's a girl, Jamie Hegg. She programs for herself. She's a strength and conditioning coach. But she shared a program this week, and it's like, listen, you're toast right now. You just went through a squat cycle. You need to do something crazy like limit the repetitions in your snatch and clean.
What a crazy idea.
Right? You need to continue to do what's working. She's doing block work, she's doing position work, but we got to take the reps down and we got to squat less because we're like 5 weeks out.
Yeah, I just talked about that. I actually just posted from my last podcast. You would like it, I think. It's my buddy that's a Green Beret. We're talking about throttling up and throttling down. And this is a great crossover for throttling down. Athletes and coaches need to learn how to do that.
Yeah. And I think, anytime I have a problem with a kid, I just look at the board to the left. So like right now, the board to the left is clean progression, snatch progression, jerk progression. It's front squat with a press, clean from the knee with a push press, clean from the knee plus clean from the floor with a power jerk. And then what's great is kids that know how to split jerk, they always ask me, can I split jerk? I'm like, yes. Once you get into that meet, and you know what it is? It's 9 sets of 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. And they're either going up 1 kilo at a time or 2 kilos at a time. And we're basically maxing out every day.
Mm-hmm.
But when somebody's having a tough time that's older, they can use that and not max out because it's just simple.
Yeah.
And then they have 6 sets of pulls afterwards and then their squats at the end. I mean, and then on the jerk one, there, like you said before in the intro, I don't teach the split jerk.
Yeah.
It's all power jerk. So it's military press, push press, power jerk. And then overhead squat. And then front squat. Like we can do some strength work on that days. And the best example of that is Kunini Manumu's brother's training, and I think going to give it a go for 28. And he is so simple. One of my former athletes is coach now, Seth Tom.
Mm-hmm.
We love Seth Tom. Seth Tom is coaching Sakoti. Sakoti had not done a split jerk in 5 years. And at the competition, something in his body was like, yo, at 165 kilos, I'm a little bit more comfortable split jerking.
Yep.
He split jerked out of instinct. And guess what? It was perfect.
It was probably good, yeah.
Matt, it was not probably good. It was perfect. Why? Because he played O-line, he did the shot put, and the dip and drive mechanics were so good from all his power jerks that he basically split into a slide position from the shot put. Yeah. I mean, obviously he's done split jerks before, but he hadn't done them since he went on his mission and got back into training and
it's
COVID
memory.
and all this stuff.
Just memory trace the movement from.
And then, dude, I'm like, bro, we need to power jerk in training, but we need to do our heavier singles. We need to start adding power jerk plus split jerk. Oh my God, revolutionary, right?
Yeah. Crazy.
So I'm going to see him on Saturday, and I'm going to, me, the wise coach, right? I've known him since he was 12. I'm going to be like, Sakoti, based on your past meet experience from a month ago, I'd like to see you split jerk anything over 140 kilos.
Mm-hmm.
Because his best right now is 170. So that's about 80%.
Yep.
But up until 140, you keep power jerking. It's going to save your knees, and it's going to remind you to use your big old butt in the dip and drive mechanics. And we won't start getting this lean forward because we're split jerking so much.
Yeah. That's actually, like, since I learned that, I think it was it juniors, we all got COVID, that we did the podcast way back when at that hotel. I think it was.
I never got COVID.
No, everyone at like USAW did. Remember, it was like 2019, like right at the end of it was juniors.
Oh yeah. Like,
I think that's the first podcast we did together. We had discussed the power jerking thing, and I came back and made it a thing at the gym. Like, most of my members, if you actually talk to them, like they will know they do not learn. If they don't already know it, they don't learn split jerk until me or Tracy, after like 2 or 3 months of power jerking, we okay it.
I
And
don't
it's
even
that
teach. Yeah.
simplicity. It's
And I
that
don't even
simplicity
teach
that
the split jerk. I just have them figure it out on their own. I'm like, what sport
yeah.
did you play?
Yep.
Because they come and they're like, I want to learn how to split jerk. It's like, okay, fine. I'm not
Yeah.
going to teach you. I'm going to push them in the front, push them in the back, see what foot, and then, okay, that's your lead foot. And 90% of people don't need to split jerk
Yeah, I agree with that.
because they're young or they're not going to be weightlifters.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the 10% that are left, I would say only 50%, so 5% would benefit from a performance standpoint in learning the split jerk for weightlifting.
Yeah.
The other 5% are going to need to know it because they're in the gym every day and they're weightlifters. And if they play other sports, the split jerk has some strength and conditioning benefits outside of the power jerk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have different foot movement. But do the math. I had 7,000 kids. Let's do the simple math. 10,000 kids. If 9,000 of them don't learn how to split jerk, how much time is that saving me for the other 1,000?
Yeah.
Which is basically the other 1,000 is like 40 a year. The weightlifters. And we go back to like, oh, how many people are going to nationals? 40. There's only 40 weightlifters.
Yeah.
Everybody else is just like in there for recreation or they're just not good enough. So if a kid's coming 3 days a week, why am I going to spend one full day teaching a kid how to split jerk when there's 20 kids in there?
Yeah. No,
You're
that
going
makes
to learn
sense.
it wrong. I'd rather than them just
And then
power
go
jerk,
do it
power jerk.
wrong on their own, practicing a bunch.
How about you get so good at the power jerk that it's worth my time to teach you how to split jerk because you're outpacing your progress in the clean is outpacing your ability to jerk it,
Yeah. No, I
right?
agree. I like to show a chart. We'll touch on this and then hop to the last subject because I know you're tight on time. But I like to show a chart that I don't even remember where I saw it from years ago. But I like to call it like the hierarchy of skill and movement, and it's basically an arch, and you have what is most athletes' career path in weightlifting, and it's as beginners you have that big arch, and it's very basic movements. You have your power snatch, you have your power clean, you have your squats, and it's like very simplistic. And as you get longer in your career to like the middle of your career, we add in complexity with blocks and hangs and combos, complexes, because you're trying to work inefficiencies. And then ironically, as that athlete becomes more professional or competitive, and we're talking real, not just like John the auto salesman guy that likes
Yeah, you're
going
talking
to
about like
AO1, like that.
junior world level
Yeah,
kids.
like the athletes are actually just going back and they're just snatching and clean and jerking, and
Yeah.
it's very simplistic shit. And I always bring this up because it's again going into that conversation of like we try to make things complicated. We think the more complex something is, the better it's going to be. But it's like, oh my god, look at fire and look at the wheel. It's really fucking simple. Like,
I
we
think
don't need
so.
to make things
Yeah.
hard.
I think ego has a lot to do with it.
Yes. Yep.
Ego and
People
social
like feeling
media.
smart.
I know a lot of people in my circle that are trying to prove that they're good coaches. So I learned something from TikTok this week. Totally a
Holy
little bit of a
shit, who's on
sidebar.
TikTok?
So there's a kind of a new age, I think he's from Singapore, Asian philosopher, young guy. And he was talking about, he usually talks about the power of language.
Mm-hmm.
But this one was about charity. So you can be charitable with your money. That's a transaction.
Yeah.
I donate $1,000 to Matt's weightlifting gym. Great. Thanks, Kev. Transaction. I donate time, right?
Mm-hmm.
I go and teach a level 1, right? That's transactional. I'm
Mm-hmm.
donating my time or I'm using my time and then I'm getting money in return, right? So work. Or I'm just volunteering at the gym like my 3 hours. But what is unquantifiable is the energy. The energy that you put into that time
Yeah.
and into that money. So it becomes like a three variables, right?
Mm-hmm.
Time, energy, and money, and the energy that goes into the other two. Now, the way that relates to the simplicity of coaching weightlifting, I got 2 really good examples. D'Angelo Sorio was by far the best athlete I've ever coached in terms of weightlifting.
Mhm.
And we had some good ones, and not by a lot, but he could just do some things that, like, what?
Yeah.
Clean jerk 210 at like 100 kilo body weight? Nobody, I mean, still, like, besides the Ferguson guy, like, most impressive dude in the last 25 years. He missed his first two snatches trying to break the junior American record at 155. I did not know what to tell him.
Mhm.
I looked at him, and this is a kid that I've been through
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 the
the
ringer
mud
with.
with. I love this kid, right? And he's 20 years old, or he just turned 20, right? 'Cause he's born in November. It's his last chance. And I'm like, D'Angelo, just fucking snatch. He clarked 155 on his second, comes back and smokes it like it's 50 kilos. Goes then on to break the clean and jerk junior record. And there's a picture, Hook Grip's got a good picture of me like running onto the stage and like slapping him
Mhm.
in the butt, like congratulating him as he's still down there, right?
Yeah.
And then fast forward 5 years, the 2019 World Championships, Jenny Arthur misses the jerk on her first clean and jerk.
I was watching.
And she looked at me and she said, Coach, I feel good. And very rarely do kids tell me, I feel good. And it's like, you know what? This girl's been banging at the door for a medal. I'm
Mhm.
like, Jenny, we're going to go up.
Yep.
And you can hear me, and I play this in my level ones. You can hear me just saying, just up, drive up. But it was the energy. It wasn't the cues. It wasn't that I was a good coach. It was the conversation in the back room of, we will go up.
That's funny you bring that up. That's in
We will go up. Like, I
the
am believing in you for this split second so that
Yep.
you can go and believe in yourself. And then on the third attempt, she missed the same weight in Turkmenistan the year before for the gold.
Mhm.
And then she made it for a medal, which ended up being the silver medal. But
Yep.
she made it. So there was something about that interaction, that energy. So when people try to come in and do a million different things, it's like, have you sat in the weight room for 25,000 hours and maybe how many trips had I gone on with Jenny Arthur by 2019? Like,
A
just
lot.
time, just building that relationship. And like, I remember in 2011 when we went to Junior Worlds, I was with her for 16 days. We literally spent 100 hours together that trip
Yeah.
with everybody, because there were no other coaches. So the time and the energy that was invested early paid off 8 years later.
Yeah.
And then flash forward to 2025, Coach, I get a random text. Hey, I just clean jerked 130. I'm going to lift at nationals,
She's moving again. Yeah.
right? I'm not like telling her what to do.
Yep.
I'm just like, whatever you need, I will be available,
Yeah.
because there might be a situation where you're nervous because it's your first national meet in 5 years,
Mhm.
right? So, anyways, sidebar.
No, it's funny you bring it up. I actually have that those lifts in like the coaching course that I coach. Jenny's World's lifts. So it's
We
funny
we
that
watch and learn how
because
to highlight.
it is going up after miss, and it's so
Yeah,
like
it's like simple math. It's like the Koreans went up for no reason and bombed out.
Mhm.
Jenny went up for a reason and ended up winning a medal.
The Koreans,
Got this
or do you mean like 80% of coaches at AO series meets?
Oh yeah. No, I
Um,
can't say anything like that because then I'll get a random Instagram message about, I didn't think you would be such a jerk. Blah,
yeah,
blah, 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 blah. It's like, listen, dude,
that's okay.
it's amateur hour. I had to do this all by myself 25 years ago with 12 kids.
Yeah,
Like, I didn't have assistants and freaking apps and any of that. It's like,
yeah,
yo, figure it out. You've never coached weightlifting before, but you've got 3 kids that are going to win a national medal. You figure it out.
yeah. So with queuing, all right. So like when it comes to talking to athletes, and you gave some really good examples there of like competition, but let's talk like training. Okay, so you gave a good example about lead with the chest, stuff like that. We see a lot of coaches, even in our USAW ones, or even when we're at like competitions, of coaches using over complex cues. I've literally been at the card table and I've sat, and to my right, I've heard a coach say, you need to get past your knees and engage your glutes and keep your shoulders over the bar as you extend. And I'm like,
What,
holy
dude? It's like
fuck, bro.
WTF. I
Like,
got one rule.
and then at the gym, you have coaches that like you're doing USAWs and you see these coaches and they're like, they're just being almost they're over explaining, right? It's like, all right, you're going to take your hands and you're going to put it on the bar and then you need to make sure your hook grip's tight. And then it's like, oh my God, dude, like where do you find the best tips with, even when you're working with your own coaches there? Cause I know a bunch of your coaches, Jenny, Seth, all those guys there, like where do you find you've helped them the most become good coaches and how you've taught them how to cue and communicate?
I wouldn't say I'm the greatest like example of coaching coaches just because there's, egos are involved and things like that. Seth's a really good example because he probably lifted the longest.
Yeah.
And now the way he's coaching Sakoti, it's very good. He's like, he'll ask me a question. I'll never make a suggestion. I'll let him ask the question. But here's the cue. My number one rule for cues: single syllable words. The
Love
power
it.
of language.
Love it.
Chest up, punch up, push into the ground, right?
Mhm.
All right, into is two syllables, right? But
I
four
was
letters.
like running. I was doing the stupid clapping thing in my
Push in
head.
ground. Push in ground. No, yeah.
We were just making fun of Tracy about Tracy loves big words. She like loves the language and articulating things, and she's smart, so she likes to be smart and use those words. And like me and Greg, one of our athletes, were just making fun of her the other day. Where like Tracy wakes up each day and only like picks words that have three syllables, and then she'll use it.
The
But
only time I
so
do
it's
that
funny.
is when I'm explaining, like,
She doesn't do that when she coaches.
yeah.
It's
When I
just a
coach,
clapping
it's
story.
simple. If we're talking about history or politics, the
Yes.
role of Genghis Khan in the modern world,
Oh my God,
uh,
Disney just put out a great documentary, so watch it.
about Genghis
On
Khan.
Genghis Khan, yeah.
So just, another side note, everywhere there is war right now, there was peace when
Bro,
Genghis Khan's grandchildren ran the empire.
bro, I was
Ukraine,
watching that documentary and they're talking. Hey, look at thumbs up. That's the second time this happened. They're talking about like him, like well, his sons being
his
in.
grand no, his grandsons.
Well, no, he's talking about his sons sieging Baghdad, and I'm like, oh my God, I was there doing that, and
No,
I
that
was.
was their grandsons. So the sons were very short-lived.
It was
It was the
Obadiah.
four grandchildren. They split up the Mongolia, China, the Middle East, and
After
then
they broke it up.
and they got all the way to the Sinai Peninsula
Mm-hmm.
and lost to Ukrainian slaves that had been bought by the Egyptians. So because they knew their tactics from going
Yeah,
all the way to Ukraine.
when they were fighting all
So it's
them.
like what's going on now is like the Russians, you're never going to beat the Ukrainians. They beat the Mongols. Like, yeah, you might beat them up and take their land, but you're never going to make it all the way through. You're just not.
Yeah.
It's not in the
Before we
blood.
turn into a political, I was just
Anyway,
pointing out. I was like, oh my God, war was still here like millions of years ago, but not millions.
but to Genghis Khan's credit, you had a choice.
Yeah.
You got to keep your religion. You got to keep everything in your city
Mm-hmm.
if you ran all your commerce
Yeah.
through the Silk Route,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So he wasn't this big violent. And in China, they took it over with the grandson took it over by making himself Chinese. No war needed. I mean, there were a couple big battles, but
Yeah. Yeah.
basically he changed his whole being from Mongolian to Chinese, and then
Mm-hmm.
they controlled everything from the Korean Peninsula to the Sinai Peninsula.
Yeah.
Anyways, I got about 2 minutes.
But so huddling back to queuing and simplicity, what are two gigantoid tips you give it to athletes when things are starting to go bad? Their lifting's not doing well, they're starting to fail. How do you bring it back to just keep it simple, stupid?
Eliminate negative self-talk.
Love it. Thank you.
Don't say dumb shit out loud. Don't say negative shit out loud.
Thank you, dude. Thank you so much.
Like that's it. Like
Mhm.
and then the one I really like is do the work.
Yeah.
Nothing in life replaces hard work.
Yep.
Nothing in life is going to replace my 20 like I'm not patting myself on the back. It's just a fact.
This is what it is.
For
Yeah.
25
Very good.
years, like today, I'm going to the gym at 12:30. Well, I'll be a little late today, but that's okay. There's a 9-year-old that's number one in the country who's awesome. She's my workout partner. Um, I will be there for 3 hours without getting paid. I'll be there from 12:30 to 3:30, maybe working out a little bit, but basically my time and energy investment into the gym is what goes in before the doors open
Yeah.
to get those couple kids that can't come during. And then when it comes to nationals and she's got the gold medal around her neck, I will know that I'm not the greatest coach, but I gave the most amount of energy into my coaching for her, and that's what she's going to feel.
Yeah. Well put.
So I'll leave you with that.
Awesome,
Think
man.
about the energy and how charitable you are with your energy.
I dig it. All right, man. I
All right,
appreciate
thanks, man.
your time. We will have you on another podcast for sure, as we've
Awesome.
talked. And those of you that need to find you, Kevin, where can they find you on the
The
social?
quickest way is Instagram, Hastlefree BBC, or just, like come to the gym. I'm a
There you
big
go.
cell phone guy.
Yeah, I told
Find my
you.
number online.
I told you Max, one of our friends from U of M, is starting up at your barbell club next week. So
Oh, cool. Does he have my phone number?
yeah, he's already
Did he
talked.
call me?
He's already talked to your people.
Have him text me.
All right, man.
Oh, did he reach out to the Gmail?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll make sure. Tell him to send me a text message. I want to
Yeah,
be there.
I'll
On
do
his
his number
first day.
right now.
I'll pretend he's new and take him through the day
I
one
will
progression.
100% let you mess with him. It'll be great, and it'll be recorded. Messing with him.
Matt says you really don't have much experience. He wants me to reteach you how to lift. So
Yeah, you probably don't know how to overhead squat or press.
let's go over here with the 7-year-old Matt.
That'd be hilarious because I'm pretty sure he back squats like 600 pounds. So,
Hey,
all right, man, thanks for your time.
I got a guy who's back squatted 600 pounds who started on the level, like the beginner one, because he doesn't know how to stand your clean and jerk.
Oh, there you go.
He's struggling with like the 10-kilo bar.
No,
It's hilarious. It's like, bro, this isn't bench press, dude. It's called an overhead squat.
All right, Kevin.
All right,
Thanks for your time. Thanks,
I
everyone.
won't hang up. I'll let it like run its course.
Till the next time, guys. Thanks for
All
your
right, thanks, guys.